Hey guys, it's Bunny here again, and today I'll be bringing you part 2 of my ongoing series where I review the pre-release cards from the new Forged in the Barrens expansion. Hope you guys enjoy the analysis. 5 mana, 4/4, transform your secrets into 3/3 soldiers. They transform back when they die. So we have a bunch of decent secrets in Paladin currently. The problem that we have with this is that we're not allowed to play them because they cost 1 mana and we run out of cards when we do that. So this makes you a bunch of 3/3s, and then when they die they become secret again. So this can obviously be super powerful, but it's very conditional on us being able to play our secrets well. Oh My Yogg is an insane secret, and we're getting Avenge back, we're getting, I think, Redemption back, so we're getting a bunch of really powerful cards that are secrets in the game for Paladin that are really strong effects for 1 mana, but if we don't have a good way to cheat them out, I don't think we can play this card. Desperate Prayer, 0 mana, restore 5 health to each hero. I mean, this card obviously looks like trash, but if we get control Priest or something where we have an Auchenai-esque effect, this could be fine. Not really much to say about it right now. 2 mana, Condemn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, and then it upgrades to at 5 mana becomes a Consecrate, and at 3 mana it becomes 3 damage. I don't know what the equivalent is here. Only goes on enemy minions. At 5 mana, this is a 2 mana Consecrate, right? So later into the game, this can be quite powerful. In terms of removal, this is obviously worse than Holy Ripple. Think it's worse than Dragon's Breath if I have to rate it among cards that are currently being played. How does this compare to Holy Nova currently? I think you would play this over Holy Nova in current builds. In terms of just pure strength, I think you would play it over Holy Nova. It's obviously a better Arcane Explosion, but Arcane Explosion is not a good card. The reason why Holy Nova effects are really good in the current meta is because you have a lot of 2 HP minion that the rogue puts out, right? You have One Thief, you have Foxy, you have all these things that have 2 HP where you need a bunch of 2 damage effects. So yeah, depending on how token-esque the meta is, this card can be playable. Priest might get holy spell damage. I mean, this is holy, this is holy. True, maybe. You wouldn't run a spell power card just to be able to activate this, I'm pretty sure. Next up. 5/5 for 5 mana with Taunt Battlecry. If you've restored health this turn, gain +3/+3. I don't see it. I don't think this is good. 6 mana, 8/8 Taunt. Unless, like, I mean, this has Taunt, unless you get something that resummons all your Taunt minions, like Hadronox for Priest. I don't, yeah, no. 6 mana, 6/6 Taunt. Death will restore 8 health to all friendly characters. I mean, okay, I guess. We take these. This seems like a really powerful defensive tool. This looks better than Carded Defender. Even though Carded Defender is kind of harder to push through. It does have an elemental tag, which is nice. That means you can play it with Enzoth. As soon as things have tags, you can play them with Enzoth. And this is like a really good card with Enzoth, right? Because you can play this, and you already have a taunt and heal at the same time where you play Enzoth. So you have a defensive option while you play a 10 mana card. Seems reasonable to me. Think could be played in an Enzoth deck. I don't really know what the direction for Priest is going to be. I've said this a few times. I don't know what direction they want to take Priest because we're losing all the active win conditions from Priest, I think, in the next expansion. So this could be something interesting to look at. It's obviously a little bit expensive, but Priest used to have problem with actually having proper healing, so this might be totally fine. And it's well statted and has a really powerful effect. Next up, rogue cards. Rogue cards are usually some of the most interesting ones in the game. That's also why rogue is one of the most loved classes in the game. In 1 mana, yoink. Discover hero power and set its cost to 0. Swap back after 2 uses. So you can take a hero power. You would like to take the rogue hero power. 1 mana, draw 2 cards, deal 4 damage to yourself. I mean, it's obviously really bad when you get Demon Claws. Totem? Yep. 1 mana, deal 4 damage face? Yep. You just put this into your aggro deck and you always get steady shot because you're god. You're a god gamer. How do we compare this to Mr. Are You Here for the Tour? The tour guide? Because tour guide in Rogue seemed nice, but never got played. You get a 1 mana dagger, but the card was never played, even though dagger is one of the best proactive hero powers. But we learned that one of the better things about the dagger is that you don't have to put that many 2-cost cards in your deck, and you can, if you don't have a good turn 2, you just take it off and retain the value. Whereas with tour guide, you don't retain value, you actually spend the card. I don't think this is what Rogue needed. Like, you might play this, but you'd rather play, like in an aggro deck. And in aggro deck, you want to play a minion on 1, right? Because if you play a minion on 1, it can go face on turn 2. You don't want to try to get this to get steady shot. And then sometimes you get armor up and you just feel betrayed. I don't see the scene play. Next up, 4 mana, 4/4 Oil Rig Ambusher. Battle cry, deal 2 damage. If this entered your hand this turn, deal 4 damage instead. Days since last accident, 0. Okay. It even says entered your hand this turn. It doesn't even say draw. This is like set up to be played with Secret Passage already. Right. Entered. If it's something enters your hand, it can also be created by passage and not only by card draw. Like SI7 cries in a corner because this is battle cry and battle cry is better than combo. But as a 4 mana 4/4, and I don't know, man. If this, you need you get to deal 4 damage, which it's nice because it can theoretically go face. But why would I play this when I can just play Prize Plunder? I don't know. I don't really see it. And 4 mana cards of passage, no thank you. Step 2. Oh yeah, Shadow Step. So this is like, if I Shadow Step, this becomes Eviscerate. So if I Shadow Step this and then replay it, it's basically just like I would have played an Eviscerate. But they deleted Eviscerate from the game. Yeah, maybe this is budget Eviscerate then. You play this and you Shadow Step it and you have Eviscerate. I'll give this a maybe, but I don't believe in it. Can Blackjack center it back to kick? 2 mana Chain Lightning, deal 2 damage to a minion and a random adjacent one. It's a Shaman spell from the Nature class or Spell School. And then it upgrades, I think, to do 3, and then it does 4 damage. I don't really see these like upgrades at 10 mana happening too much. I mean, I think that card is not bad. It also deals with stealth minions. I think Landslide is better, but I think this still might be okay to play in a somewhat spell-heavy deck. This really depends on what kind of minions people play. I like the prevalent 2, 1, 2, 3 drops. Do they have 2 or 3 HP? If the prevalent 1, 2, 3 drops have 3 HP, this card is incredibly useless. You'd probably rather play like Landslide, or you would need to combo this with a certain amount of spell power to make this work, which Shaman does have good access to. So this card scales well with spell damage. I wouldn't mind this. Just depends on what kind of way Shaman takes in the expansion, like what its win conditions become, if this is a playable card, in my opinion. Obviously, decent removal card. What we have next, 3 mana, nothing can stop us. Give your minions +1/+1. Give your Murlocs an extra +1/+1. I mean, nobody plays Murlocs now. This looks like trash. But maybe we get OP Murlocs. 4 mana, 5/4. Nature spell damage plus okay. So you play this together with the other one on 6, and it would deal 6 damage to 2 minions. Alright. What is lightning bolt? This is so bad. What school is lightning bolt? And is lightning bolt still in the game? Can we go face? I mean, it says nature spell damage +3. The only downside I see that with this card is that it doesn't work with what's it called? It doesn't work together with Raz. But this is just, I mean, I'm sorry. Shaman has access to studies. Shaman can reduce their spell power minions even further. And this is, I'm sorry, this is just an okay stated body. This is just fine. And then if you get to combo this with something else, it's probably just good. I don't see this card being bad. We did say the same thing about the Prime, where it was like, oh, it's kind of hard to imagine the Prime being bad. And the Prime turned out not to be playable because it just, the extra 1 spell damage on Lady Vosh just wasn't good enough, and when you like drew her from the deck, it wasn't good enough. But I think that's not because Lady Vosh was a bad card, it's because the archetype that supported this sort of shaman just didn't exist. The reason the card seemed bad is because we never had an archetype that supported this kind of cards being playable, like Lady Vosh. And then if we get to play some more control as Shaman, I mean, this card looks pretty cool. This might even be good enough in like more aggressive Shaman. Something with spell power, go face. We just lightning bolt your opponent's face. But yeah, like I said, Lady Vash and these other spell power minions that are still in the game, they're all really strong. And if you can play this for 3 mana, even nicer. Next up, Warlock cards. 2 mana, summon a 3/2 imp. When you have 2 mana, you summon 3 imps. Oh, when you have rank 2, it's 2 and then 3 imp. This card looks like trash. I don't want to talk about it. Next up, Warrior. Morshan Elite. 5 mana, 4/4 taunt. Battlecry. If you hear your attack this turn, summon a copy of this. So you get, for 5 mana, you get 2 4/4 taunts. I don't think this is what Warrior needs. And I don't even think it's close. I don't like this card either. Next up, 2 mana, 2/3, Peon. Add a random spell from your class to your hand, Frenzy. So if this survives damage, yeah, this looks like trash. Next up, 3 mana, 3/4, Horde Operative. Battlecry, copy your opponent's secret and put them into play. Okay. I mean, this is a spider tank with a pretty sick upside sometimes. Obviously, super meta dependent card, right? I don't know which deck is allowed to play this kind of stuff, but if you have enough secrets, you obviously just play this. This card is so disgusting to play into Plagiarize. So disgusting to play into Plagiarize. Yeah, like I said, this is obviously super meta dependent card, but if some tier 1-2 decks are secret synergetic decks, this is probably just playable. Like, I have trouble seeing how this is not playable if some of the top decks are secret enabled decks. But if there's not one tier 1 deck or 2 tier 2 decks that are secret decks, you're not gonna play this just because you are not allowed to play spider tanks. You're not allowed to play bad tech cards. I currently don't see Hunter playing secrets as one of the classes. I only see Paladin and Rogue potentially playing secrets. I don't really see Mage. Secret Mage might be a thing, because they already planted a lot of synergy for it in the past expansion, and it's kind of a deck, but it's only a deck at lower ranks currently. Nobody at super high ranks really plays this stuff. I know somebody made top 8 in the Masters Tour with it, but I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that was an outlier. Currently, I would not imagine this card seeing much play. If this set released like it is right now, or we only had those cards, which obviously isn't, but hypothetically speaking, this card would not see play. Not at all. This would go in Highlander decks, but Highlander decks are rotating, right? In Highlander decks, you often have the liberty to slot in like 1 or 2 garbage cards, because you can always just make up for the loss of cards in hand by playing Zephyrus and Dragon Queen that give you a lot of power in singular cards, and you don't have to have a consistent way of building your entire deck and having everything synergize well together. So you get to throw in a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then you try and let Zephyrus and Dragon Queen do the rest. But they're rotating, so you wouldn't be able to slot in as many tech cards as you currently have in the meta. So I don't think this would see play. Next up, Mankrik, 3 mana, 3/4, help Mankrik find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck. So you basically shuffle a card into your deck that summons a 3/10 minions that immediately attacks the enemy hero. So if you shuffle this on the top of your deck, you're obviously the best player in the world. I don't know, if you have enough card draw, you probably play this. If you get a 3 mana 3/4 and a 3/10 that does 3 damage to your opponent, you probably just play it because a 3/10 is amazing. So I mean, this card probably sees some play. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. There's gonna be decks that have enough card draw to just cheat this out and they'll still be fine. 4 mana 1/6 rush, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. I mean, this is pretty funky with Apotheosis. You play this, you put Apotheosis on it, you flank strike your opponent's board, and you heal yourself to full. And then you call this Reno, but you also clear your opponent's board. Best even if Apotheosis is reduced, and you can play this on 6 together. I think Apotheosis is staying, right? Yeah, it's Ashes of Outland. Yeah, we put Apotheosis on this, and we clear our opponent's board with it. This card, like, if you have enough buff effects in your deck, you play this. Priest would definitely play this right now. Next up, Kazakus is back, but now this time instead of spells, he makes golems. And you get to build a golem with 2 effects. We don't quite know what all the effects are currently, I think, but it's something of the order of like draw cards, I guess, taunt, maybe deal. I don't know if it's the same stuff as it can't be the same stuff as the spells, otherwise it would be OP. Like if you put Kazakus spell on a golem, it'd be OP. But of course, it's if your deck has no 4-cost cards. So this only goes for decks that don't have good 4-cost cards. So for example, this card is ineligible to be played in Druid because playing you play Token Druid, this is too late. You play Druid that goes later. Yeah, you're not gonna not play Overgrowth, for example. Theoretically, you can play this in Libram Paladin, but the thing about Libram Paladin is it already has some really good 5 mana plays. But depending on how strong the Golem stuff is, you might just want to play it anyway. The 5 mana Golem should be as good as Jandis. Just that you have to play a 4 mana 3/3 in your deck before and play it and not play any other 4-drops. What 4 mana cards do we currently play in our rogue builds? I mean, Miscreant and stuff is rotating. But in the current rogue build, you don't play a single 4 mana card. So you might actually be able to play this and then just like Shadow Step it and build another one. And just build some golems. There's a few decks that actually don't run any 4-drops at all currently. They just run like 3s and 5s. There's a lot of incredibly powerful 3-drop spells as well as minions in the game currently. So this actually might see play. I definitely... I see this being played. I see this card being played currently. Next up, 4 mana 3/6. After you cast a holy spell, give a random friendly minion +2 health. No, thank you. 5 mana 5/6. Frenzy, attack a random enemy. No, thank you. This one we're already playing. 8 mana 6/6. Battlecry. Draw your highest cost spell. Summon a random minion with the same cost. And they already showed it in the reveal video. You play this in Shaman. You draw your Tidal Wave, and you get some really sick 8-drops out of the game. This looks like a Shaman card to me. Earthquake rotates, but Tidal Wave does not rotate. Eye of the Storm also rotates. Not like we ever wanted to really play that card in our deck. The only trouble that you might walk into though with this card particularly is if you already draw like the expensive cards and then you have to draw something cheap and this fully whiffs. Like you're already sad when you have the 8 mana cards in your hand because you can't play them early and you're probably behind on board. And then you become super sad because you can't pull it off this as well. But yeah. What other decks really have access to this? This might be really good in Druid, right? Because this is a card that seems really powerful if we ramp it out. And if we Druid has the best ability in the game to ramp cards out with the Lightning Bloom and Overgrowth. I believe Overgrowth is staying in the game. It's Ashes of Outland. So you have Lightning Bloom as well as Overgrowth as well as Innervate to get out this card early, which gives you huge power turn. Because like, I mean, it's an 8 mana 6/6 that draws a card that in this deck will always give you an 8 drop. Because you're going to play Cenarion Ward as your 8 mana spell, as well as Guardian Animals. If there's a decent amount of good beasts, which I think there currently still are, you have Moonfang being insane, as well as a few other beasts that are really good for 5 mana that are definitely playable. So this looks like a card that could be really, really strong in Druid builds. Ram Runes the Spellbolt. I mean, it is the highest cost spell. It's not a random spell. It is literally the highest cost spell. This is so much tempo. If you get this out on turn 5, you get a 6/6 on board and an 8 drop. Whew. Crazy. And you draw a card. I mean, you also even gain more value. So this in Druid, I think, can be really powerful. You could theoretically also play it in Hunter with Jewel of and Zoth, right? And resurrect a bunch of death battles, but I don't really think is something that you would want to play. In Mage, you have the Grand Finale or the Mask of Cthulhu that are playable cards, but again, the ability to be able to play the spell, this minion before turn 8 is what makes this powerful. And currently, if there's nothing that comes to the game that reduces elementals in its cost, which I could also see happening, this is only really, really good for Shaman because they have access to Lightning Bloom and then naturally Druid because they have access to tons of ramp. So yeah, it looks like a powerful card to me so far, even in current Druid builds.